What's up, everybody? This is Seth Parnell, the minister at the Portia Church of Christ, and this is episode 106 of the Midweek Bible Study. Hope that you are doing well. Hope you're doing good, and we appreciate you being here tonight. I hope that it's been a pretty nice day here at least down in Jonesboro. It has, and so I hope that you've maybe experienced some good weather in your area and had a good day today. Whether you watch this right now or whether you are watching it later on, we want to let you know that we appreciate you being here and your willingness to study with us and to maybe look a little deeper into the Word of God and find some things that we can take and things that we can use in our life to become a better, transform ourselves, which is what we're talking about tonight, into a better reflection of what Jesus would have us to be. And so we always appreciate your willingness to study the Bible. We always want to give you an invitation. If you're someone that is in the Portia area, please feel free to stop by and see us. We would love to see you. We would love to talk with you and worship with you and get to know you. We are located at 307 South Jackson Street in Portia, Arkansas. And right now we are meeting at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings and 6 o'clock for Wednesday night and 5 o'clock for Sunday night. And so if you're in the area at one of those times, then feel free to drop by. In fact, I believe it's this Sunday night. Yeah, this Sunday night we're having a fellowship meal. And so if there's any time to stop by, you should come see us and you can get a good meal. I know we've got some good cooks at Portia. And so I know you wouldn't regret that decision if you come next Sunday night. And so hope that you can come see us sometime. Also, we want to let you know if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, if you need further explanation on some things that we take a look at, then send them our way. Let us know what we can help you with. We want everyone to come to a better understanding of the Word of God. And so we don't want to leave anything half done, but we want to be someone that helps in any way that we can. And so know that that's available to you. We're pretty easy to get a hold of, and so hope that if you need that, you can take advantage of that. But with that, we're going to jump into our lesson for tonight. It's probably going to be a short episode tonight, but we're still going to look at some good things in the Bible. One of the great things about the Bible is no matter where you go, no matter where you're studying the Bible, there's always some good things you can take out of it and that you can use for your own benefit. And so it's you can't miss when you take a look at the Bible. It's good to have the Dunlaps here. It's good to have them with us tonight. Hope you guys are doing well, and we know that they are two people who do so much for the church at Portia, and so we always appreciate them stopping by and for what they do. But we have a lot of events going on in our area. Now we have the area wide singing coming up at Pyron Street in Pocahontas, and we've also got the Northeast Arkansas Lectureship coming up, or we usually call it NEA Lectureship coming up on the 9th, I believe. Yeah, the 9th through the 11th is when that's going to take place. So the weekend of next week. And I think I have the advertisement here, the poster for it. It takes place. Let's see here. Get a zoom in on that. There we go. This is as I said, it takes place from June 9th through the 11th, and it talks a little bit, and they're talking a little bit about the idea of transformation and kind of some general topics as far as what a Christian, how a Christian should go about things, and something that is expected of them. On Thursday night they have a 6 and 7 p.m. Sessions. They got Barry Odell, who's the minister at the Mammoth Spring Church of Christ, and he's also a Miami Dolphins fan, so he's got good judgment in that case. But he's teaching about the embracing the master teacher. Jesus was a teacher. He was someone who was often referred to as rabbi or a teacher, and so a Christian is someone that embraces that. Stephen Ford was talking about a Christian is grateful, something that characterizes them, colors them. On Friday starting at 1, Robert Sharnock is going to talk about how to value the soul. A Christian is someone who values the soul of a person and values what that brings to them. And then some person at 2 o'clock is going to talk about the obeying the greatest command. And that's me. We'll be on Friday at 2, and we're going to talk about the greatest commands that we read about there in Matthew 19. To love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And so we're going to kind of dive into that for our time there. And at 3 p.m., Ephraim Aranda is talking about being persistent, and as a Christian it should be persistent. And then we'll have some singing at 6:30, and then Caleb Hall is going to talk about how a Christian is to be prepared. A lot of what we get, in the Bible and the scriptures, it encourages us or tells us to be prepared. Jesus tells several parables with that lesson in mind. That a Christian is not someone who just, waits for something and reacts to it, but he's someone that is prepared. He's someone who builds himself up, who gets ready, who is prepared for what comes ahead of him. So he's going to talk about that. The minister at the NEA Church of Christ, Mitch Sparks, is going to do the 9 a.m. on Saturday, talking about being fruitful. Jeremy Thornton will talk about being prudent and practical. Keith Ford at 11 will talk about evangelizing. And then at the 1 p.m., Orville McClure is going to talk about authority in Jesus. If we get, where do we as Christians get authority for what we do or the things that we practice? There's a lot of things that will like to claim, that authority, but really there's only one true source, to go to. And then Aaron Dodson, the minister at Washington Avenue, is going to talk about honors Jesus and his 7 sayings. And then the final one is at 3 p.m. Brock Kendall will talk about how a Christian grows and influences. And so it should be a good weekend of lessons that should benefit people in some good ways. And so if you're in the area, I encourage you to check that out. And I believe it will be live streamed with the Washington Avenue Church of Christ page. I haven't double checked that yet, but I believe it should be. And so if you're not able to physically be there, you can check them out online as well. And so hope you can take advantage of that if you are in the area. But we got Nadine Mayland is here watching with us. It's good to have you here. Hope everything in Portia is going well. Hope you're they used to be my neighbors, and so I hope you guys are keeping a good watch on that street. It's good to have you guys here tonight. We're going to take a brief look for our lesson here tonight on Romans chapter 12. It's a pretty well-known verse that we read about in the book of Romans. Paul's someone who he goes through a number of topics, but Romans in itself is something that it kind of weaves itself together. Like it's something that where Paul he says some certain things, and then he builds upon that in the chapters to follow. As I've said, before, Romans, I think, is a book that suffers probably maybe some of the most from being dissected and taken piece by piece and kind of brought out of context, because the book in itself builds upon the previous chapters in a pretty big way. And so if you're going to really understand what Romans has to say, then you need to read the whole book. You need to read the entire argument that Paul is making, so that you don't take things in a way that it wasn't intended. And so it's always important to understand that. And in Romans chapter 12, he's going to talk about something that's pretty familiar to us. It's something that is kind of a well-known verse because of what it talks about, but it's something that's very powerful in what it says. No, when we got the Tillmans are here, and they say don't forget the Raven Den gospel meeting. Is it this Friday night? Yeah, I think it's this Friday night at 7 p.m. And that runs. I think that runs from Sunday to Wednesday, I believe. You correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, that's with Lano Robinson, and he's a good speaker. He's someone who he doesn't need a microphone, but he's an excellent speaker. And so I know you should definitely go up to, if you're in the area, you should definitely go up to Raven Den and check their meeting out, because that'll be a good place to be for that. And so because I heard Lano at the lectureship at CRSC a couple years ago. He's pretty good. But in Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 1, this is what Paul has to say concerning this. He says, "I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, and what is good and acceptable and perfect." And so this is what Paul has to say. No, it's Friday through Sunday. Okay, so it's Friday through Sunday. That's the meeting at Raven Den. So be sure to check that out if you're in the area. But Paul says, I appeal to you, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice. He says, in verse 2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be someone who is transformed by the renewal of your mind, and that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." And while there's a lot in these couple of verses, the one thing that I was thinking about recently is this idea of being transformed. What does it mean when someone is transformed, or something is transformed? He says, he gives a kind of a warning. He says, you don't be conformed to this world, which means don't emulate or don't follow the lead of what the world tells you to do, but in contrast to that, be someone who is transformed by the renewing of your mind. What does it mean to be transformed? Well, it's when something is transformed, it is completely changed. It's something that is where something new is created. If something is transformed, that means that it has changed what it is. If you go back to Romans chapter 6, Paul talks about how a man is born anew, and when he is baptized, he is raised with Christ, a new man, a new creature, something entirely different. Being transformed means that you put off that old self, and then you embrace a new person. You start afresh, you start anew, which is something that can be quite comforting to a lot of people, because it doesn't matter how much how many mistakes or how many sins that you have in the past. You can come to Jesus, and you can have a fresh start. You can have a brand new start. All those things can be taken away, and you can have a brand new start by following God. That's a wonderful thing to look forward to as people, as looking forward to what we have. Being able to be that new man. That's something that is special. It's one of the best things that we have with the obeying of the gospel. And so you don't have to be someone who is who has to have all these, qualifications, who has to meet all these requirements in order to become a Christian. All you have to do is be someone who is obedient, to the Word of God, and be someone who is genuine. If you're someone who does those things, and takes action on them, you can be a Christian. You can be a follower of God, and that's one of the best things about it. It's available to everybody. But he says, be transformed by the renewal, of your mind. It's good to have Kathy Davis here with us. I hope you are doing well. It's good to have you here tonight. It's always good to see you. He says, to be transformed, by the renewal of your mind. And so we are renewed. We are someone who is made afresh, and we have a new start as far as our life, because we are transformed. And he says here, he says that by testing, you may discern what the will of God and what is good and acceptable and perfect. I find it interesting he uses this word, testing. He says, that through, testing, you may discern, what is good and what is acceptable and what is, complete, or what is, perfect. These are things that we can do by testing things, against, the scriptures, and against, what the Word of God, has to say. We can find, what is good. We can find, what is acceptable. The Word of God is something that can lead us, to a good many places. But as we always say, one of the good things about, being someone who trusts in the scriptures is that the scriptures aren't going to lead you somewhere where you don't want to go. They're not going to make you a worse person for following the Bible than you were, before. If you're someone who gives yourself, to the Bible and to the scriptures, it's not going to lead you into, making mistakes or doing something that is self-destructive on your part. Now, we're not perfect. We know sometimes we walk away. We do things that are against the scriptures. Like the scriptures aren't going to do anything that is against our will. We still have, free will. We still have a free choice. That's something that we always have. But you're never going to get in trouble, following, the Bible. And we know that from people like Paul and people like Peter, sometimes they did suffer, for following the Bible. They were persecuted. They had things happen to them that were very uncomfortable, that caused a lot of pain. They had those things, happen to them. We know that following the Bible it's not going to be a lack of suffering. Some Christians still suffer just like anybody else. That's something that you see all throughout the scriptures. Some of the most godly people suffer the most. And so it's not a thing where if you follow the Bible, you're never going to suffer again. We know that some people preach that. They preach, a message like that. But that's not something that we find, in the scriptures. But it's something that always makes you a better person. It always improves your character. It always makes you a better you. If you're someone who is interested in personal growth, if you're someone who's interested in being a better person, there's no better way to do that than to be a Christian and to be someone who follows the scriptures, because it will improve you if you allow it to change you, as it says here, being transformed, by, by what he has to say. If you let that change you, it's going to make you into a better person. There's no way in the world that Seth Parnell can be a better person outside of the scriptures than I can being someone who follows them. Because what does God tell us to do? What does it mean to be transformed? Paul will say in the book of Philippians. I've been studying that book lately. He says, be someone who counts the needs of others as more significant than yourselves. Look out for other people. Be someone who is a servant. James says, be someone who doesn't act with favoritism or with partiality, but be someone who gives that gift to all. The second greatest commandment that we mentioned briefly earlier, to love your neighbor as yourself. That's what it means, as part of being a Christian, as part of what they do. And so you think about all those things, that makes you a better person. Growing as a person is sometimes more about what you give than what you get. Sometimes people try to give you a lot of advice or a lot of ways to improve yourself, but many ways, one of the best ways in order to be a better person is to give of yourself and to give to other people, to give to those who are in need, to encourage, to inspire, to be someone who gives that to other people. That's a wonderful way in order to achieve personal growth and to be transformed. It's good to have Sarah Whaley here. I hope that you are doing good. I hope that things are going your way. We always appreciate you stopping by. It's good. It's good to see you. But that's something that the scriptures provides for us. The ability to become a better person and to be someone who is more than we were before. Because a Christian, Paul talks about in Philippians chapter 4, and he talks about how he's known what it's like to be to have good things. He knows what it's like to have abundance, and he knows what it's like to be in need. He says, I've been in every situation you can imagine, being in great moments of grandeur and being someone who's been persecuted and left for dead. Paul basically says in Philippians chapter 4, I've seen it all. But he concludes that thought by saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He says, I can get through any situation, because I know I have Christ, by my side. And so it doesn't matter, what situation you're in. You can still, be someone who grows, still be someone who improves yourself, if for someone who is dedicated to the scriptures, because it's something that will, transform you. It will change you if we let it, and always for the better. It's never someone who changes you, for the worse. And so that's one good thing that we can take a look from looking at the gospel, because Jesus, he made it clear. He was someone who made it very clear that a Christian is someone that's going to be different, from the world. They're going to have a different set of priorities. You're going to have a different set of motivations. They're going to be someone who is different than maybe someone who looks elsewhere, who worships something else, because we all serve something. Every person on this world serves something. It may be a false idol, and maybe it may be yourself, but in the end we all serve something. And if a Christian, if we as people, we serve the one true God. We serve the God who created this earth. That's who we hold our account to. And so when we think about what motivates a person to do good things, we read examples in the scriptures of people who have they did good things sometimes for the wrong reasons. Sometimes they would give sums of money to the temple, to people in need, and they would kind of sound a trumpet before them, and they would let everyone see them and say, hey, look at me, look at all the good things that I'm doing, look at all the money I've given to these people. They wanted that recognition, and they wanted that honor from the people. And even though what they did initially was very good, their motivations were off. Why, as a Christian, why do we do the things that we do? Why do we serve other people? Why are we someone who seeks after unity and seeks after being unified under one purpose? Why do we someone who looks at everyone with equality? Why are we someone who treats people with kindness and with gentleness, and we love people others more than ourselves, or as much as ourselves? Why do we do these things? It's because we know who we serve. We serve a God who has, given us, a second chance. He's given us a chance at life, and He is someone who gives us, that ability, to be with Him. And we want to do whatever we can in order to worship God, in order to be pleasing, to Him. And that's our motivation, for doing, those things. And it's not something that is, turned inward, but we want to do whatever we can in order to reflect, what Jesus has given us and who He is. That's why we do, those things. While a person, outside, of the Bible, outside, of a fallen God, they may do some very good things, but in the end, they sometimes it's for, selfish reasons, or sometimes it falls short of what really needs to be done. But a Christian is someone who's always motivated to do good because of who we serve, because we have been transformed, by, the gospel. And that's an important thing to note. It's good to have a Jewel Garrison here. I hope that you are doing well. Hope things are going good in your part of the world. It's good to have you watching with us here tonight. But the motivations for a Christian are far different from those, of others. But also, their priorities, as well. Their priorities can be very different, for individuals. Someone who is a Christian, they have, maybe a different set of priorities, different things that they invest their time and their energy and their effort into, maybe than others. Like I said, we as a Christian, we are motivated into, serving others. We're motivated in order to showing love, to other people. That's a priority for a Christian, because Jesus, He says these are the two greatest commands. These are the two things that we need to focus on, because they encompass, so much. They encompass, so many things about, being a Christian, is that effort of showing love, to people, loving God, and loving people around us, or loving, our neighbor. That's a priority, for a Christian. While the priorities, of people outside, of the gospel may be maybe something that is centered on things that are temporary, or things that kind of come back, to themselves. Not everyone outside, of the gospel is selfish, but sometimes, our priorities kind of get, mixed up when we don't have something to go on. And a Christian is someone who, when they are transformed, by the gospel, they have a set of priorities that are sometimes can be a lot different, because in our mind, we want to be someone who continually grows as a Christian. We want to be someone who emulates, what Jesus did, what Paul did. We want to be someone who takes in and, reflects that image that he has given. We don't want to exalt ourselves above, where we are. We don't want to, put ourselves, down from where we have told we are. But we want to be someone who our priorities will reflect more, than ourselves. And that's part of being someone who is transformed, by the gospel. And so you may do things, such as, going out of your way to encourage someone, or to serve someone, being someone who is dedicated, to spending time in order to study the Bible, in order to be involved, with the church in some way. There's a lot of things that demand our time. There's a lot of things, that demand our energy and our effort. There's so many things that you could spend that on. As a Christian, we always set aside part of that, for God, for doing things that, improve our spiritual state, to study the Word of God, to do things, of that sort. It's easy to, kind of burn yourself out and, not have anything left, for, the gospel, or for, your soul. But a Christian is always someone who sets apart at least just a little bit in order to improve that, because our priorities, are different, and they reflect, the one that provides this for us. And so it means a lot to be, transformed, by by God and by the gospel. And I hope it's something that we can say, with confidence that we have been transformed, as people. Like I say, we're not always going to. People are always different. We're not going to look alike. We're not going to act the same. We're not going to be someone who speaks the same words. But if we're a Christian and we hold to the Scriptures, we're going to be united under one purpose and under one banner, and that's a pretty important thing. And so I hope that's something that has benefited us tonight. But that'll be it for our lesson tonight, and we will be back here next week. Yeah, next week we will be back for Andrew Hitchcock. He's going from Paragould. He's going to be with us. I know you're going to enjoy what he has to say. He's an old friend from CRC, and so I know you're going to enjoy what he has to say. He's a smart guy. But and after that, after the June the 9th, I believe is when Andrew's coming on, we're going to have a 2-week break for our summer break here for the midweek Bible study. I'll be gone for church camp on the 16th, I believe. But that next week after the 9th, I'll be gone, and then we'll have we won't have one the following week as well, and so we'll have a 2-week break after that. But we still will have one next week, and so we hope to see you then. But until then, we hope you have a wonderful day. We hope you can go out and be the light of the world and glorify God in everything that you do. I'll catch you next time.